long trajectory of history has always had men and women who were notable for their examples of bravery and intelligence above the ordinary. Many were those who lost their lives so that Angolans could achieve the freedom and dignity of a people and a nation. Agostinho Neto leads the list of these heroes. 1922, at 5 o'clock on the 17th of September, he was born in Kashikani, Ikolu Bengu. Agostinho Neto, son of Agostinho Neto and Maria da Silva Neto, catechist and teacher respectively. At the end of the 1960s, his parents moved to Luanda, where Agostinho Neto continues his secondary education at the high school in Salvador, Korea. In 1944, he completed the 7th year of high school. As an employee of the health service, he left Angola for Portugal in order to attend the Faculty of Medicine in Coimbra. In the late 1940s, he was awarded a scholarship by the American Methodists. He transferred his enrollment to the Faculty of Medicine of Lisbon, city where he was taken up residence and where he began his cultural and political activity within the House of Students of the Empire. On the same day and year that he graduated in medicine from University of Lisbon, he got married to Maria Eugenia Neto, with whom he would have 3 children, Mario, Jorge, Irene and Leda Neto. Returning from Lisbon a year later, he opened a medical office in Luanda, where he held numerous free consultations for his people in a demonstration of a true humanist, a man of letters and culture. His achievements also include literature. Of its literacy collection, there are 7 books published between 1957 and 1979. His career was quite remarkable, which gave him the title of the greatest poet. The works among them, Sacred Hope, Path to the Woods, Impossible Renunciation, My Dream, The Palms of My Youth, We Will Return, are today a source of inspiration and reason for scientific investigation by the new generation. With Lúcio Lara and Orlando de Albuquerque, he founds in Coimbra the magazine Moment, in which he collaborated. Nem riquezas, nem pobrezas, nem alegrias, nem tristezas. Despite living in Portugal, he was part of the group Let's Discover Angola, which would give rise to the movement of young intellectuals in Angola. At the beginning of the 50s, he was arrested by the PID for 3 months when he was collecting in Lisbon a signature for the World Peace Conference in Stockholm. The spirit of an Africanist led him to find clandestinely the Lisbon in partnership with Amílcar Cabral, Mário Pinto de Andrade, Marcelino dos Santos and Francisco José Tenreiro, the Center for African Studies, whose cultural and political purpose is to affirm African nationalism. He also founded the African Maritime Club, a direct transmission between Angolan patriots who were in Portugal and those who in Angola were preparing the foundations of the liberation movement. In the year in which several patriotic movements merged into the Popular Liberation Movement of Angola, Agostinho Neto found himself imprisoned in the dungeons of Lisbon. In June of 1961, Honorary President of the MPLA is chosen. He was arrested again and deported to Cape Verde, where he remained until the end of 1962. Later, he was transferred to the prisons of Aljube in Lisbon, where he stayed for about 6 months. Innumerable were the international solidarity campaigns for their release. In 1962, he became president of the Angolan Liberation Movement. succeeding Elidio Machado and Mário Pinto de Andrade. In June 1963, with the help of progressive poets, he fled from Portugal with his wife Maria Eugênia Neto and the children to Leopoldville, now Kinshasa, where MPLA had its headquarters abroad. That year, he was elected president of the MPLA during the movement's national conference. Throughout the 1970s, Agostinho Neto led the political and guerrilla activities of the MPLA and the decolonization process. From Argel and Brazzaville, the commander-in-chief of the guerrillas was endowed with a simple delicacy full of tenderness, which the war did not dehumanize. When the 25th of April 1974 erupted, MPLA was struggling with several dissidents within it. Once again, Agostinho Neto appears as the unifier and begins to prepare the then Maquisards for the return to cities and families. Its definitive and apathetical return to Luanda happened on February the 4th, 1975. The then Craveiro Lopes Airport was taken over by the population that identified Agostinho Neto as the long-awaited liberating leader. On November 11, under the roar of cannons and before Africa and the world, he proclaimed the national independence and became the first president of the Republic of Angola.
11 de novembro de 1975, em nome do povo angolano, o Comitê Central do Movimento Popular de Libertação de Angola, MPLA, proclama solenemente perante a África e o mundo a independência de Angola.
Conquered colonialism, Angola faced new enemies, both internal and external. A strategist like few others, Agostinho Neto had the vision and necessary courage to protect national unity and guarantee our sovereignty. He establishes important alliances with friendly countries such as Cuba and the Soviet Union, joined the hero of the Angolan people in the fight against the invading forces. The action initiated by President Agostinho Neto culminated in the 80s with the coup's defeat of the forces of imperialism, having forced the end of apartheid in South Africa and the independence of Namibia at the beginning of the decades of the 90s. His administration as president of Angolans is marked by a strong connection to the most needy and then oppressed population. The most important thing is to solve the people's problems. He becomes the beacon of all who follow him. In addition to being president and commander-in-chief, Dr. Agostinho Neto was the founder of the Union of Angolan Writers and the first rector of the university, of which he is patron. His decisive role in the struggle for national liberation and in the identification of Africans was worthy of numerous distinctions, the most important being that of national hero, the highest in the Angolan state. Antônio Agostinho Neto died in Moscow on September the 10th, 1979, victim of illness. His physical disappearance leaves the Angolan people and progressives around the world in a state of shock. Such was the dimension of the loss. From Icolo and Bengo to the Areopagos of the world, talking about Agostinho Neto is talking about the conquest of our self-determination and the elevation of Africa in the world, and about a visionary and patriot who achieved his main objective to free Angola and transform it into the firm trench of revolution in Africa. As we celebrate the centenary of his birth and faithful to such a distinguished legacy, Angola and Africa pay tribute to the founder of the nation, humanist, poet, doctor, and Africanist.
O mais importante é
Agostinho Neto, President. Thank you, President.
Angola, Mudilaina. Oh.